S&P 500 and the DAX and the FTSE, you would still lose 3% of your cash. So people are trying their best to beat that inflation number. And right now, a lot of the stock market is being seemingly propped up by the performance of these tech stocks. Like you said,
Mm.
it's insane that the S&P 500 is up, but when you look at the weight structure of it, in other words, there are 500 stocks in the S&P 500, hence the name. It's not divvied up. Uh, the S&P 500's value is not evenly distributed between 500 stocks.
Mm.
No, it's there's a weight that's assigned to the most valuable companies. Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple make up 17% of the S&P 500. Three stocks in 500. So if they do poorly, newsflash, S&P 500 is probably going to do poorly. If they do well, then the chances are the whole of the market will do well. And so it's a very, very weird time to be a trader where you see companies like that doing so incredibly well. And then you see a company like, let's take Wells Fargo, for example, or Charles Schwab. They're down 10, 12, 15% on the year.
Mm.
And it's a weird space to be in.
It is, yeah. And let's, I mean, talking about the tech's power right now, right? That ability to carry the market, which is what it's doing.
It's
Will it
amazing.
continue? Will I mean, we've seen little murmurs of more banks to potentially fail in the up and coming world, but we've also seen Apple join Morgan Stanley, and I mean.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
bad
It's
times
so
create
crazy.
revolutions, right? Bad times create
Right.
revolutionizing thinking and new technology and exciting ways to move. But I didn't see Apple becoming a bank. I can say that honestly. I I wouldn't have put my money on that. Now that it's
Right.
happened, it kind of makes sense. It's like, well, yeah, that what a great move
Yeah.
for them to make from a business standpoint. Whoever's making that
Yeah.
decision, fair play to you, good sir. I'd love to sit down with you and pick your
Oh my
brain. But
goodness. Yeah.
yeah, where do we go from here?
Yeah, Tim Cook is he's a genius. He really is. And to your point, Jordan, in the past 4 days, Apple has 4 days from them announcing that the bank
Mm.
account was open and available, $1 billion in deposits have been made into that savings account. That's a billion with a B. And so it's incredibly impressive to see where they've gone. As for whether or not it's here to stay, never say never, right? The market climate changes so often, but right now we know that because they're actually making money, they're very attractive for a lot of investors. If we're all traders here, but most traders I know have a variety of different accounts. I have a long-term account, I have kind of like a swing account, and I have a day trading account. A lot of my long-term funds are currently in tech stocks, not because I necessarily think that Elon is the greatest to ever do it or that Tim Cook is a prophet. It's just that they're actually making money right now.
Hmm.
And the stuff that I would usually put money in, a good example would be something like Boeing. I can't I can't stomach it. And a lot of investors can't because you look at the financials and Boeing has lost money, millions upon millions, billions of dollars in each of the past 4 quarters. When you look at their actual net income statement. And when we look at something like Apple, and Apple has $200 billion on hand right now. If they want to, they could buy a small island. And so when you think about it from that perspective, they're out here and they could decide to buy Denmark if they decide to. You want to put your money with those kinds of businesses, especially when you're a trader trying to park money in a way that gets you out of inflation,
Hmm.
lets you beat inflation.
Yeah, yeah, which is a tough gig to do. I mean, inflation, like you mentioned, Bank of England shocked everyone, right? And I think I think it kind of shocked the Bank of England a little bit too. They thought they were doing
Yeah.
enough to put these interest rates up, and then, well, out of left field comes this number, and it shocked a lot of people. It definitely shocked assets. But what's really interesting, and I've pulled this up on the screen for everyone to see here, is that correlation between the S&P 500 and Apple stock, right? The actual direct correlation between what we're seeing right now between those prices. So you can visibly see what you're talking about and how much Apple and Amazon and what was the other one you mentioned? Sorry, was it?
Oh, so the FANG, Scott. So
Yeah,
Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google.
yeah. You just see the weight in which they pull. When Apple does well, the S&P 500 does well. When Apple's not doing well, the S&P 500 not doing well. No surprise. So it's really interesting to just visually see what you're explaining there and to see that direct correlation. Apple right now trading at $168 a share, just over a little $168 a share. Its all-time
Right.
high was back up in the 180s.
That's
I
right.
thought this announcement with bringing this bank account out, and especially considering the amount of money which was injected into Apple through that, we would see more
Yeah.
demand for the Apple stock come into play. I'm a little bit, I don't want to say disappointed, but I'm a little bit surprised. And I know I've lost Aaron, so I'm just chatting at you guys now. I'm a little bit surprised. There we go. I'm a little bit surprised to see how little movement it's actually generated in the stock price itself.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that there are multiple things at play here. Like we were talking about before, we have a lot of news that we're staring down the barrel of. And I wonder how much that is making investors sit on their hands. It's a very odd time to be in the market and be very heavily leveraged in any one product. So, do I think Apple is going to beat their all-time highs this year? Absolutely. Am I sure that they're going to do it soon? I don't know. This move that they've made for this high savings yield account, one, it's weird. Who expects a phone developer to come out with a bank account through a bank that's
Which like
famous for
yeah, which bringing out great returns by the way on those savings account. I mean,
4.15%? The national average in the US is 0.52%.
yeah,
It doesn't even like that's I don't have words for it.
it was the same here
Um,
in Australia. I mean, our interest
really,
rates have gone up like everywhere else, right? But
of course.
while our mortgage rates have gone up very quickly, the bank savings accounts seem to be extremely timid in moving. And then for Apple to just come out and go,
Suspicious.
hey, here, have 4.1%. I mean, hang on a minute. I'm not a big fan of Apple products, but all of a sudden they look a little bit more. All of a sudden, I'm like, you're gonna give me 4%. I mean, that will outperform a lot of traders. Like,
It will.
yeah. So yeah, it's
I,
interesting.
I Annual growth of 4%, you're not doing too bad on the long-term portfolio. But that's the thing. You're not a big fan of Apple. I'm not a big fan of Apple either. But in order to even get this account, you have to have an Apple card.
Mm.
So you get the Apple credit card and you get all your rewards conveniently put into that high yield savings account. And then you get a couple of emails that say, hey, the iPhone 26 is coming out. And
You can
maybe you could
debit
use some
straight
of
from
these.
your. We can just send it to you, no hassle at all. Yeah, yeah, I can
Yeah.
see it.
Why do you need Visa? Apple to Apple.
Yeah.
It's
It's genius.
so
It's
it
scary to see where this can take their worlds and
yeah,
power. I think that's
absolutely.
the important word there, power. But it's also we see so many different movies and we always hear about big corporations in every movie, right? The bad guy, like for example, like Jurassic Park, the bad guy is the big corporation who's going to milk everything for profit, but they think so
Right.
well. Do you think Apple is on the track to be one of those movie villains, or do you think they're just doing business so well that they're just doing business? Like, because I know that's a ridiculous question that I'm asking you right now, but for me,
I don't think it is.
I ever feel like they're edging to. When do they get too much power? Now, when
Well,
is that
well,
too much?
that is the $1 trillion question. Right now, Apple's market cap is $2.6 trillion. That's more than over half the countries. It's so much money. It's hard to fathom. Um, I think that we're already seeing a little bit of pushback, at least here in the States and abroad. So I'm sure you guys, if you follow something like Microsoft has been very actively trying to acquire Activision Blizzard, which is a video game developer that has done very well over the
Mm,
years. They're trying to bolster their competition against Sony. Well, because Microsoft is so big, several countries, several sovereign nations have had to say, hey, you guys can acquire them. No big deal. Britain came out just this past week and said, hey, we don't think it is lawful for you to purchase Activision Blizzard. We think you have too much of a market share here. And Microsoft, of course, they're going to fight that tooth and nail. They're going to hire the best lawyers Oxford has ever produced. They're going to try to pay to get Winston Churchill reanimated so that he can fight on their behalf, I'm sure. But we're already starting to see some of this curtailing and this
mm,
pushback. Apple, we haven't seen as much pushback. They have their own drama with their issues with Samsung, and I'm sure that's kind of the forefront that we see from them. But we're already seeing those kinds of issues from Microsoft. Even companies like Disney, and I'm natively from Florida. I'm up here in Ohio now, but I'm from Florida, and the governor there is viciously attacking their business because he believes that they have too much power in the state and they can swing too much in terms of who gets elected where. So we're starting to see more politicians try to stand up against these behemoth companies.
mm.
Will it be effective? It's hard to say. The governor down in Florida, he's doing okay, but it's hard to be doing well when you're staring down the barrel of billions of dollars.
Mm.
And on the other side of that barrel is a very, very, very wealthy mouse that will do everything he can to make sure he maintains his profits. Apple is very much the same.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to be walking through the door into this new era, and how long until I say how long until they're involved. We already know big corporations have a heavy influence in politics, right? Well, I mean, most of their
Of course.
campaigns are funded by some of these corporations, so there's no beating the eyelid around that. But it is very interesting to see. I was very surprised when England denounced the Blizzard's purchase through Microsoft. I personally am a fan of the gaming sector, and looking at that, and I was very surprised to see that, and it piqued my interest. It was like, wow, that could have been a lot of tax money. That could have been a lot of different, but they've come through and they said, no, we want a competitive industry here. We want people to come out of the UK, new companies to come out of the UK and have a shot. You guys purchasing this company is not going to allow that to happen. And I thought, well, good on you, first of all.
Right.
Second of all, I mean, the inflation came out the day later. Bad timing, very bad timing. but, but
Very
yeah,
not the
but
best.
no, it is always interesting. Well, it's an absolute mind-boggling. The beauty is with everything we do here in trading, there's no right answer. We can sit here and we can discuss these topics for the next 6 hours, and guess what? We still won't have a conclusion on what we think. There's just
100%.
a million different ways, and that's why we love talking about this stuff, and that's why we like doing it here live at TradeDelicious. So big shout out to everyone who's still tuning in. I know, well, I think we've captivated the audience because chat has gone silent, yet the viewers have remained. So I think everyone's just
Right.
captivated in this conversation. They're just real brain picking, guys. If you're still here, give us a wave. But yeah, no,
Give us a
it's
wave.
outstanding. I always appreciate your analysis, Aaron, and coming in and having these conversations, because it's so good and so refreshing to just hear these different opinions and these different statistics which you can give us.
Cheers. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, there's so much that's happening in the markets, and there always will be. At the end of the day, we're speculating, just like when we press a buy or sell. There's only so much that we can say. Do I know for sure whether or not Microsoft is in the right or wrong for trying to purchase this company? I don't. All I know is they're trying to do it, and that things happened, right? And
Mm,
so we're just trying to look through the noise, see what we can pull out of here, these kind of little gold nuggets, and make better trades and make better decisions moving forward for our accounts.
yeah, yeah, fantastic. There you go, Nikita. Yeah, there they are. Jan's still here. Good day, Jan. I
There you
tuned
go.
into your live stream earlier today, Jan. Good stuff. Xenox here, Darren's still here. Yeah, everyone's still there. Well, guys, unfortunately, we have run out of time. That is the Wednesday show for Trade Delicious Live. Guys, it was an absolute pleasure to have you join us in our live trading room. Quick update on that Euro US dollar trade, shall we? I haven't even been looking at it myself. Whoops. We're still trading in between the 50 and 25. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Guys, have a fantastic day. Tomorrow, we'll be back once again for the end of the week live stream. So this time tomorrow, make sure you tune back in. Trade Delicious right here on YouTube. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Turn that notification bell on. Aaron, absolute pleasure, my friend. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Your day's just getting started. My night is coming to an end. I wish you all the best throughout today, and I hope you don't get caught out by any FOMC statements. That is going to be lots. There's going to be lots.
It'll be fun. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Again, like and subscribe if you want to see more. Trade well and trade delicious. Thank you, guys.
There it is. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.